What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for I can't even talk. I humbly bring to you the 48th day mark for Gotham Knights being released. Now, this is a very, very landmark situation that we're in. I remember the last time I made this video, I think we were about 100 days or 90 days or so, and it's pretty much gotten to almost half of that timeline. And I really think that we've come such a long way in awaiting what Gotham Knights is going to be. You have to agree that at some point, this game felt like it was never going to be here. And now we're looking at, say, just a month and 2 weeks and change on top of the release date. And I'm sure a lot of people are quite excited about it. In fact, what's actually funny, and I've been looking at a lot of details today. Today was a holiday. I got to just spend time chilling at home, doing work around the house. And so it really did give me some sort of a perspective, an outlook on seeing just the way gaming is. You know, if you think about the general atmosphere of gaming, it's actually quite weird. The Last of Us Part 1 is getting like its third rendition of the game. Game came out on PS3, then they made a PS4 version called the remaster, and they did a so-called remake that, you know, as much as it might have a bunch of options and all, I just feel like resources could have been spent somewhere else. Just my take, but I don't know. I guess the overbloatedness of gaming is starting to find its way and creep into the hearts and the minds of developers, and even maybe gamers are starting to feel its fatigue. And what's even, in my opinion, what's, you know, kind of interesting and crazy is Gotham Knights on the PlayStation Store is being listed as, going to be released on the 20th of the month. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, Sony, you know, are you in a hurry? Is there something you know that we don't know? If you look here on the PlayStation Store, on the PlayStation page, I don't know, this might be a typo, or it might be a thing where PlayStation might be getting a day early release. So this is going to be interesting to see how this actually, you know, comes, to fruition. But I think this might be a typo, but, you know, it's been sitting there for a few days. I've been looking at it going, it's a typo, but day something now, the typo is still sitting there. So maybe somebody might alert them to it and, get the game out. So it appears somebody is more excited about the game coming out than the, fans or the anticipators, anyways, enthusiasts in general. And the really cool things that have really changed the dynamic of the conversation in terms of a whole lot is a picture that kind of surfaced on the internet. So I was looking around, and apparently Suspicious Tension, one of my audience members, tagged me on a tweet. And this was a while ago. It wasn't something that was quite recent. And I thought to myself, man, this is really interesting. But at the time, I couldn't really pay close attention to it. Most of you know I've been trying to get my computer back in place. I've been trying to kind of get things, put together in regard to my PC. I've been trying to do an upgrade for 2 years. But Suspicious Tension went ahead and posted this picture, and it shows something about Intel Arc ray tracing for Gotham Knights. And I thought we need to kind of take a look at this, because when it comes down to the PC version of, a lot of video games, there's a lot at stake. It's going to be one of those things where, people are going to basically talk about Gotham Knights in terms of performance. Again, Gotham Knights can never, get away from the shadow of the Arkham games. One thing about the Arkham games is, for the PC launch, people do not know, for Arkham Knight, its PC launch was actually very bad. I didn't know this because I played on the PlayStation, so I didn't even know what was going on at that time. But a lot of people who were in that space, they could confess to you and tell you that that game really did have a lot of issues, and it was not good. In fact, the biggest problem was the fact that it was just a nightmare. It was 30 frames per second. It was buggy. It was one of those crazy things. In fact, just a few years ago, the Epic Store brought a version of it, and, Digital Foundry went ahead and still did another run in terms of like checking its fidelity, making sure that it wasn't a big deal. There's a YouTube channel here called Tech of Tomorrow. I don't want to go ahead and rehash everything that happened in that time, but Tech of Tomorrow did make a video talking about how this was a launch fail for the game. So looking back at that and seeing that, video games had already faced challenges like this a long time ago, and even the Arkham games themselves with their own port, having to discover these issues, at launch, I mean, it's just kind of unique to see and start talking about new games now, where we're in a position where if we're talking about new games, we're talking about ray tracing. I mean, isn't that peculiar to you? And this is the video here. If you want to see, it says Batman Arkham Knight for PC, 30 FPS launch fail. Oh, wow. You know, that's crazy. And if you look at me today, even though I started playing Arkham Knight on the PlayStation, I finally got to beat it on the PC, which is crazy because that's how much the game eventually moved from its state then when it first launched all the way through now. And by the way, if you don't know, the game is actually playable at a maximum of 90 frames per second on PC, and you can play it at 4K as well. I was messing around and doing some testing the other day. Somebody said something about the game, and I was playing it at 4K, and it crashed my entire system because I was using like a setup that, you know, is not necessarily supporting 4K at all. But it's really cool to see that right now video games are in a position where we have hardware and we have technology to do some really cool stuff. And my focus is how Gotham Knights is going to approach all of this. The game in itself, its visual, choices have been really dark, like the Arkham games and the other games that we've been used to really do have kind of a bright pop to them. Even at night, you can see all kinds of really interesting effects. You can see fog, you can see the way Batman's effects really are. And it's actually quite cool. There's no doubt about how the look of these games are on PC. I'm thinking Gotham Knights is really going to do something really cool in terms of its PC comparisons. I think its world is eventually going to be visualized in a very interesting way. The question I have, though, is how it's going to look on the PlayStation 5 on the others. Is it going to have these features, for those games on that platform? And so it's yet to be discovered anyways, but I'm looking forward to that. But seeing that this is like a few days away from the game getting, launched, I just thought it would be nice to make a video and talk about this one detail and just anticipate it and look at how, I think it'll go, especially judging from the perspective that the last game that we got in this universe did not really, land on the right foot. In fact, it was a very interesting, situation. It was that bad. I've been reading about it a lot, and somebody said that, back then, if you didn't refund your copy, they gave you all of the Batman games on Steam for free. That was crazy that happened at that point. So yeah, Rocksteady is a great studio, and their logistics is great. But when you have a PC port that it doesn't necessarily launch, it really does put a stain on your entire development pattern. It's more like Cyberpunk 2077 that had a terrible launch for its PlayStation 4, but then its other launches were good. But that stain really did stay on the development team all that while. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Let's talk, and peace out.